So welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to come with a quick message today. Um, Basically talking about how our actions affect other people. And I was reading in the book of Joshua, chapter 7. So basically what's going on is the Israelites have finally made it to the promised land. Now it's time for them to invade Jericho and to destroy everything. So at this time, the Canaanites were inhabiting the land. The Canaanites were inhabiting, is that how you say it? Inhabiting the land. And during this time, there was a lot of idol worship, a lot of perversion, a lot of wickedness. So the Israelites were to destroy everything before conquering and taking over the land. So they go into battle, and Achan, who's part of the tribe of Judah, he decides to steal, it says here, a Babylonish garment, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold, and he hides it in his tent. Mind you, again, they're not supposed to keep anything. They're supposed to destroy everything. So instead, he takes this and he hides it in his tent. So the Israelites go out again into battle to destroy the city of Ai, if I'm pronouncing that right. When they go out to the second battle, a few of their people were killed and they actually lost the battle because basically of Achan's sin for stealing the goods. During this time, Joshua is their leader. He doesn't understand why God has brought them this far to make it to the promised land, and then they lose the second battle when they won the first, battle of Jericho, which was a big defeat because it was a super fortified city with strong military. So they couldn't understand why they won the first huge battle, but this, what you would consider the second small battle, they lost. So basically they were being punished because of Achan's sin. So Joshua prays about it. God reveals this to him. And God said that in order for his presence to remain with them, for them to defeat their enemies, that they had to get rid of the sin within their camp, which is basically getting rid of Achan and everything that belonged to him, including his family, his cattle, anything that had to do with his family name or with him. They stoned him, Achan and his entire family, and then they burned them. So now in our minds, living in this present day, this seems extreme, but back in those days, it was considered, once you let one thing slide, then the whole camp would feel that it was okay to become disobedient and to completely disobey God's laws. So that's why these things were extreme. So obedience and your family name was very, very important. So again, his family was destroyed. If he was considered, the men during that time were considered the king of their home, the leader of their home. So when they suffered, the family suffered, and when they prospered, the family prospered. So when God told Joshua that he had to be eliminated, everything that came with him had to be eliminated as well. So basically how this ties into modern day or into this message is basically to help us put ourselves in this. Basically, we need to put ourselves in this story. So it seems extreme, and we're thinking like, well, if he knew this, if he knew these rules, why would you put your family in danger? Not only have you caused some of your fellow soldiers to die in the second battle, but you also now just, in essence, killed yourself, your whole family, and your cattle. And it's easy for us to read this story and to point the finger, but actually we do that in our own lives. And I'm going to give a couple examples, and this is also speaking to me as well. So some of the examples I wrote down was, I'm going to start with being a single mother. This can apply single mother, single father, whatever. So a lot of times, before we even choose to have children, a lot of times, when we date certain people, we're dating from a place of selfishness. We're dating because, oh, that person is cute, even though we see red flags or our intuition is telling us like, okay, this person is not for you. We choose to ignore those red flags and we choose to move forward anyways, even if the relationship is toxic. And then we decide, you know, basically we're sleeping with this person, you know, having unprotected sex, and then a child becomes involved, you know. And a lot of times a child becomes involved, and you know, like, your relationship is toxic, your family foundation is probably not the best foundation to bring in children. And we do that. So again, that's our personal decision, our wants, our needs. Oh, because I love this person and not because this person is healthy or good for me, I'm going to go ahead and start a family with them anyway because this is what I want. You know, not thinking how this will affect our children, what type of environment they're going to grow up in or grow up seeing, and then how they're going to grow up and manage their relationships. So I know you guys probably heard of like generational curses, and some people be like, oh, that's too deep, or it ain't that serious, or whatever. It is that serious because you notice that a lot of things that you do, you probably witnessed it within your own family or from your own parents. You know, it's just generation after generation of single parent homes, you know, the poverty mindset, being broke, not putting our money in the correct places. And I understand, you know, the system and, you know, racial inequality, but it's like now that we have this knowledge and we are where we are, when are we gonna break the chain? I feel like we have the power, especially with this generation with technology, and you know, I just feel like we're in a better position than previous generations when we can start putting our money where it needs to go and start coming together. So that was one thing I had wrote down. Another thing is rejecting your dreams or your purpose. So a lot of us, we know what we should be doing, what we should be pursuing, and what causes we should be fighting for. We're all put here to touch people or fight a certain cause, and we don't go through with it out of fear, and it affects other people. There's so many people that I look up to, and you know, that inspire me to want to be better or have helped me healed. There's plenty of people in my life that, you know, inspire me. There's plenty of people I watch on YouTube, and I just feel like if those people hadn't been obedient to what God was telling them to do, how could they be of any help to me? You know what I mean? So just think of any inspirational person that you look up to, and just think like, dang, if they didn't do what they were called to do, like, where would I draw? You know, where would I witness that strength in someone else to help me think, you know what, if they could do it, I could do it too. You know, we all have that role model, and we glad that they follow their dreams and they didn't let fear hold them back, and they were able to pour into our lives and inspire us. So also, us not following our dreams also could be keeping us from our monetary, what's the word? You not pursuing your dreams is probably why financially where you are now as well. Like, a lot of you have, you know, business ideas that could be beneficial to your family, to your community. You know, everything we do is not just for us. It's not just to get money. You know what I'm saying? It's so we're comfortable. We can set up a good life for our children, and that we also can be a blessing to others that need help, and help people that don't have resources, or, you know, third world countries, or even here, you know what I'm saying, to help other suffering people. So you not following your purpose, and you not being where you actually could, you know, you could have been somebody great right now, but you letting fear hold you back, and you aren't able to give like that because you're struggling yourself, you know. So that's why it's important for me, where I always push entrepreneurship. It's not so I can just be like, oh, let me go get rich. It's because I really want to set my family up in a position where they don't have to work a 9-to-5. You know what I mean? They don't have to just wake up every morning slaving for somebody else, barely to make their own ends meet. And I want them to be able to, you know, just be free and be able to help others out without a burden of, man, how I'm gonna pay this bill or how I'm gonna pay that. You know what I'm saying? It's not a good way to live, and it's not a healthy way to live. So that's another thing. So yeah, you not following your dreams is affecting your family, and it's affecting your community. Another, I'm going to just basically give just one more point. So I had wrote down not valuing yourself or healing, or and by that I mean, like, when you don't value yourself or you don't heal, we tend to take it out on others. So for example, something might have happened to you in your past and you haven't healed from that, and everybody that comes into your life, you take it out on them. You know what I mean? Or, you know, you could be dealing with anger issues. You could be dealing with depression. If you're dealing with, you know, your anger issues or certain things that trigger depression that you don't want to deal with, that ends up affecting your family, and it ends up affecting your friends, because you're not in the mental place to pour out into other people. You're not in a mental space to, you know, you don't have that energy or that focus. Like, I'll give an example. Like, if I'm having a really bad day or I'm going through something and I'm not really trying to deal with it, or I just keep pushing off to the side, and I finally get to a point where I'm tired, I feel like I don't perform as well, like, as far as a mother. I'll just say, like, you know, I feel like I could do more and pour even more attention onto my son, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed or I'm going through something and I might shut down. You know what I mean? And that affects him. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with him. And even people around me, like, I just tend to shut down, or just, I don't know. That affects other people around me. My attitude, my emotions, or what I'm thinking, it changes my mood, and it changes how I am around other people. So, again, these are just certain things to think about. You know, a lot of times when you read, you know, if you believe in God or the word, I don't know what a lot of people believe in, but this can still apply to you. But if you are a believer, if you are a Christian, when you read the Bible, you know, let's try not to just read it as a book of rules, because I think a lot of us just look at it that way. I try to read the stories and put myself in it. You know, I think a lot of why Christianity gets like a bad reputation is because I think a lot of people read it from a point of, oh, I'm better than, or look at these people in here and look at these people on the street. You know what I'm saying? When I read, I put myself in the stories. Like, okay, you know, we can read stories in here and be like, dang, why didn't they listen? Or why they just didn't do this? Or why they just didn't do that? But these people are us. Like, these are our ancestors. You know what I mean? Like, we come from a line of these people. So it's like, it's in our nature. It's in our flesh. And when we read it, we need to be putting ourselves in the story and saying, how do this apply to me? You know, this book is not just a book of rules to just throw at people. It's a way of life. Like, how can I change my life? You know what I'm saying? And it does transform, and it does work. Even if people want to say it don't work, it do work. You know what I'm saying? When you really apply it. And I'm not just talking about just read it. I'm talking about apply what you read. And yeah, I'm not perfect at all. I'm not perfect. And that's why I'm reading and I'm trying to, like, better my life. And I feel like my life has gotten a lot better. I've cut some things out, becoming more serious. But I got a lot of ways to go. And yeah, I'm just hoping this has encouraged somebody. So yeah, I'm gonna just end it here. And I hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.